I don't know why manufacturers do this, but why do they do that? Sorry guys, this is actually a bit disappointing. Disappointing, Toyota. It runs the risk of being just boring and tedious and just lacking any real substance.
Being a Toyota, most people are going to think that these are really reliable. Well,
what goes wrong with one of the world's most popular cars now that this current generation are popping up on the used market? How are they aging? Most importantly, but should you ever consider buying one? How about we answer all of those questions and so much more? First up, so you know what you're looking at, this generation of Corolla in a nutshell, here we go. Now this generation Corolla has been with us since 2018 and all locally delivered ones here in Australia are built in Japan. Also, they're available here as either a hatch or a sedan, although there are some wagon ones popping up thanks to the great import scene and they're called a Corolla Touring. Now as far as trim specs go, there are technically 3, but even those have some kind of submodels. We'll explain all that in a minute. However, there is also a hardcore performance model called the GR, which might happen to be my current dream car, but that thing deserves its very own video, which we'll get to down the track. Now, powertrain wise, super simple. Here in Australia, there were 2 petrol engines to choose from. And the vast majority feature a CVT auto, although a 6-speed manual is available on the base spec and all a front wheel drive. Now, 2023 models have seen a mid-cycle update. Basically, there's some aesthetic changes, some updates to the tech, and the hybrids received a bit more power. Now, pricing wise, you might be able to sneak into like one of the early base spec models for a little bit under $20,000. At the other end of the spectrum, a top spec hybrid with like minimal Ks on it, mint condition, 50 grand, maybe even a little bit more. Now in saying that, because the wait times for brand new hybrids are still stretching out for months, used hybrids, they're asking a premium. They're holding their value incredibly well, but that makes it even more important to not get ripped off when it comes to financing one of these. So to avoid that, simply hit the Driver link down there because Driver will find you the very best finance package from dozens of different lenders. It's completely customized to suit your needs. The whole thing's done easily online. And unlike a lot of dealers and traditional banks, there are no hidden fees. Plus, getting your finance via that Driver link, we're going to give you a free $150 fuel voucher. How awesome is that? Okay, now are you ready to hear 4 words that you never thought you'd hear? These Corollas look hot. Seriously. Like I love like the angry headlights. I love the sharp angles everywhere. I adore this color, and in ZR trim, it looks very, very classy, but the 18-inch wheels absolutely make it. Okay, on the small wheels and some of the base specs, they're starting to like knock on the door of meh, but at the other end of the spectrum, the GR, oh my God, I adore the look of that thing, but again, that's a story for another day. Now that excellent design language continues inside. This is such a lovely place to be, and I'll go as far as saying that I think this gives a lot of its European competition a serious run for its money. Like even as far as functionality goes, like where everything is, just makes total sense. The driving position, absolutely spot on. In fact, these seats, this is a ZR, so these have like the sportier, I suppose, nicer, more supportive seats, and they are almost perfect. Not Civic Type R good, but bloody close to it. Like even, okay, wanky term, tactility, like the way all the buttons and controls still feel is just right. Like even the materials used, again, granted this is a ZR, so the materials are, you know, the top notch of this. Some of the cheaper ones maybe don't feel as special as this, but like, again, everything you touch just feels nice. Even like the scratchy plastic areas, whatever texture they've used, it feels more premium than what it actually is. But there are some negatives, and it's when it comes to wear and tear. I don't know why manufacturers do this, but they put gloss black plastic in high traffic areas. So even on this, it's starting to scratch and it marks really easily. Near the cup holders here, if you spill any coffee, instantly marks it up. Also on this car, this has been retrimmed, the steering wheel has been retrimmed because the texture has started to go on it. Apparently it's a bit of a common thing on the steering wheels. And like even up here, there's some scratches and stuff on the air conditioning controls because again, gloss black plastic in high traffic areas. Why do they do that? Same on the door cards too, there's some scratches here. I don't know why they do this, just make it not gloss black plastic. But look, besides that, other wear and tear, like the seats, fantastic, the leather and this kind of Alcantara kind of feel is fantastic. Door cards are good. Everything else, great for wear and tear. Now, as far as practicality up front, you've got a wireless charging point up there. That's mainly on the higher spec models. 2 cup holders here, good little cubby storage bin there. Pretty good sized glove box, decent sized door bins, and that is it. Now, the Corolla might be the world's highest selling car, but the Oreo cookie is the world's highest selling biscuit. And funnily enough, I'm exactly 208.8 Oreos tall. This is in my driving position. And it's pretty disappointing, to be honest. Like my feet are squished under the seat here. I've got like hardly any leg room. You sit quite upright as well. So you just feel like you're being forced to sit like you're in the fetal position. And it's because it's so dark with a dark roof lining, it just feels pretty claustrophobic in here. Now, as far as wear and tear in this particular car goes, obviously every Corolla is going to be different that you look at, but this one does get a workout. There are grandkids back here all of the time. And it's not too bad. Like, okay, there's some marks and stuff on the seats, and you can tell things have been kind of manipulated a lot, but it's pretty good for wear and tear. And as far as practicality in the back seat, being a ZR, you get your own air vents in the back, you get a couple of map pockets in the doors, you get cup holders and a spot for the kids to hide their Lego, and there's a pull down armrest with 2 more cup holders in there. Now in the boot, sorry guys, this is actually a bit disappointing. If you're looking at one of the lower spec Corollas, they actually have one of the smallest boots in their class. In fact, a Yaris of the same year model has a larger boot. Now the ZR, it has a slightly larger boot because unlike the other ones, it ditches the full size spare and puts in like a tire repair kit. But even then, it's not massive back here. As I said, one of the smallest in its class. You can fold the seats down, but even then, it's still not huge. And the other problem is when you do fold the seats down, at least in the ZR, you get this bloody lip here. So sliding things in and out is a nightmare. On the cheaper models with the full size spare, that becomes flat, but just disappointing. Disappointing, Toyota. Now, good news here, even on the base spec models, you're going to get everything that you'd expect, like Bluetooth, power mirrors, power windows, reversing camera, plus all of this and more. But then on the SX, it adds an enhanced touchscreen, the wireless charging pad, and dual zone climate control, and all of this and more. But then on a ZR like this one, you're going to get this beautiful leather and suede kind of seat material, a color heads-up display, and a fantastic 8-speaker JBL sound system, and all of this and more. But what about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto? Well, if you're looking at one after 2019, good news, October 2019 is when Toyota included CarPlay and Android Auto. But the even better news, prior to 2019, you can get these things retrofitted with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. However, some people have complained about the actual functionality of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with this system. But the good news with that is the 2023 models have binned this infotainment system and put in a whole brand new one, which works perfectly, apparently. Now look, obviously there's so much more to the tech and features than just that, and if you do need all the specific details, go to ReDriven.com and check out the Corolla's completely free and awesome ReDriven cheat sheet. It's basically like the ultimate used Corolla buyer's guide. Now look, as far as safety features goes, look guys, it's a relatively new car, so obviously it's safe. But to take you through what safety features that you can expect, being one of the longest lasting and most popular car models in the world, it seems only right that we have one of the longest lasting and most popular actors in the world take you through the safety features. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tom Cruise.
Okay, so as you know from my work, safety is paramount. And this car is my mindset to stunts personified in a motor vehicle. Firstly, you will receive all the expected equipment like 7 airbags, anti-lock brakes, traction and stability control. But even as standard, this machine has Toyota Safety Sense technologies such as pre-collision systems, autonomous emergency braking, lane change assist, lane departure alerts, and active Tom Cruise control. Anyway, more recent and higher trim spec models include even more safety equipment, but for all of the specific safety details, again, head to ReDriven.com and check out the cheat sheet.
Now this car runs a huge risk. See, because it has to appeal to such an enormous market, it runs the risk of being just boring and tedious and just lacking any real substance. A bit like commercial radio. And look, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly like dripping in personality or excitement. That's what the GR Corolla is for. But after driving this for a little while, it's really surprised me. See, when these are brand new, they just do everything right, like steering, handling, ride quality, all of the driving attributes that you're going to use every day, they just get it right. But like now that these are a few years old, and look, I know I'm going to sound like a complete wanker saying this, but after a few years, it feels like an even more cohesive package. Sorry. Like it just feels so sorted on the road. There are no rattles, there's no excessive road or cabin noise. Like the driveline, like it's just so efficient, not only in terms of fuel, also this car is returning 4.9 litres per 100 Ks, but just the way it works in the real world. Like, okay, here we go, pulling into traffic. It's not fast, but it's not really supposed to be, but it's not embarrassingly slow. Like pulling into traffic like that, overtaking, even at freeway speeds or just around town, again, it nails what it's supposed to do. Like even this CVT, which like these things cop loads of criticism in other cars, in this, with this hybrid engine, again, it just works. Okay, but any negatives? Look, like any modern car, the incessant beeps and bongs of the safety systems just become infuriating. The good news is, but when you turn them off in this, they stay off. Besides that, no other negatives. Look, overall, it's a bit like let's say the David Attenborough of driving experiences. Like, it's reliable, it's mature, you get everything that you're going to expect, but somehow it's always like a pleasant surprise and just the right amount of interesting. Okay, what goes wrong with these? Let's start with the exterior. Now, apparently, the doors can fill up with water. Okay, now Toyota have issued a service bulletin about this, but you can fix it yourself if it hasn't been done under warranty already. See these 3 little rubber grommets? This is really hard to do, but I'm confident you can do this. Remove the front one, and then on the back door, simply remove the back one. That way all the water drains out of both doors. No more problems with your doors filling up with water. Okay, next up, there are some reports that the windscreen is a bit on the thin side and can crack really easily, although we're not sure about how that person was driving or what conditions they were driving in. But yeah, just be aware that apparently they can crack easily. Now inside, there are a few complaints about early infotainment systems just being really buggy, like Bluetooth dropping out, functionality being just complete crap, but normally a software update fixes all of that. And then there are some like very sporadic reports of just little electronic gremlins, like certain switches not working. Good news is, but generally they're fixed up under warranty. But besides all of that, that's it. No other sort of common faults inside. But before we get to mechanically what can go wrong with these, a massive thank you to David and Vicky for lending us their Corolla. Actually, if you guys have got like a cool car that you think would make a really good ReDriven video, can you let us know in the comments or hit us up on the socials? All the links are down below. And secondly, everybody in the Corolla owners groups, especially Brad, mate, you're like a walking Corolla Wikipedia, but all of your advice and knowledge, it just helps us make these videos. You guys are legends. Now, something that has really surprised us, even though, look, ReDriven is growing so much faster than we could have ever anticipated, is the fact that most of you haven't joined the ReDriven community. Now, look, we promise you, if you support us by hitting that subscribe button, it just allows us to make you bigger and better car content, and we cannot thank you enough for it. Legends. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with this generation of Corolla? I'm really sorry, guys. Can't tell you. I'm not a qualified mechanic. Luckily, Jim is.
Now, being a Toyota, most people are going to think that these are really reliable. Well, actually, they're right. All the engine options in these things are your typical late model Toyota reliable workhorse. There really is no one big common problem that causes catastrophic failures. Some of the 1.8 litre engines around the 2020 mark did have a few valve train complications, but most of that was picked up and repaired under warranty. They do, like a lot of modern Toyotas, have some EGR complications. Sometimes the valve sticks open or close and makes the car run terribly, and nearly always logs a fault code. Typically easy to diagnose and relatively easy to fix. I think over the last few years we've maybe seen 1 or 2 leaking water pumps, so even they're pretty reliable. The rest of the engine bay, really no huge problems to worry about at all. Now, a pro tip for the astute viewers that have got themselves a set of WiperTech wiper blades. In these Corollas, if you hold the wiper switch in the first position after you turn it off for about 5 seconds, the wipers actually park themselves in about a halfway position, makes it much easier to change them. And just on the WiperTech wiper blades, if you want a set and you want free express shipping and 15% off, just click on the link below. Some owners have complained about an abnormal clutch pedal noise. Typically that's a problem within the clutch master cylinder. It's not actually broken and never lets you down, it's just annoying. Now, a clutch pedal, by the way, for the younger people watching today, that's a pedal you push with your foot in order to move a stick that makes you change gears. Now, it's very complicated. Perhaps you should ask your grandparents. Those manual transmissions, by the way, are actually very reliable, and so are all the transmissions in these. The CVT, which interestingly feels good on the road because it has a separate first gear, which no other manufacturer does, and the CVT in the Hybrid 2, super reliable, very rarely have a problem. And just on the hybrids in these things, yeah, typically they are very robust. They're not even at the age yet where the batteries are starting to become a problem, but we do know that when they are, they share a common architecture with all the other Toyota stuff, so relatively easy to fix and pretty affordable too. Yeah, overall with these cars, if they are serviced properly, and as the graphic indicated, the services are due every 15,000 Ks, you're very unlikely to have a problem. Now, just on the servicing, Toyota do recommend 15,000 Ks or 7,500 Ks under extreme conditions. What a lot of people don't realise is that extreme conditions are daily stop-start short trips. Now, it's not realistic, and most people don't do it every 7,500 Ks, but every 10,000 Ks, highly advisable. If you want it to last, every 10,000 Ks.
Okay, so should you buy one? Guys, there's a reason these are one of the most popular cars in the world. They just work, and especially when they're used, they're inexpensive to buy and owned and operate. So yeah, 100%, you should buy one. Okay, look, sure, it might lack the image and appeal of some of its European competitors, although it does avoid the reliability and repair cost concerns with those. And a Mazda 3 or a Honda Civic might arguably offer more car for the money, but deciding between these three will really come down to personal preference because all of them are excellent choices. But guys, we're really confident as long as it checks out with a pre-purchase inspection, no matter which Corolla of this generation you're looking at, it is going to be a superb used car. But here's the hot tip, try to find a post-2019 model because that way you'll get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and an extended warranty. But the question for you is, would you buy one or would you go Mazda 3 or Honda Civic or one of the European competitors? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Now as far as trim specs does trim specs go?
Trim specs go.
Trim specs go, thank you. Trim specs go, there you go. Now, however, there is also a hardcore performance model. And then the SX, it adds, and then there are like, okay, we'll call them really sporadic reports. Good one.
And on those WiperTech wiper blades, if you want to get free, I always these up.
In saying that, we're not sure of the driving style or the conditions that, my brain,